My dad's been in the same place since '87. He's 31, almost 32 years in the same place. He's getting ready to retire, I think. But he's had a great business, very successful, ton of repeat clients, all the same things that Capri and I go after. And I remember I was probably a teenager when we had this conversation. I don't remember the scenario, but it was basically somewhere along the lines of, he was selling a car to somebody where he's basically taking a loss at this point. And he said to me, he's like, I want to be able to look the person in the eye I do business with after we do business. So, if I see that person at the grocery store, I see them at, church or the bar or, wherever, that I want to make sure that I did everything I can to be confident enough to look them in the eye after the transaction. I don't want to ever have to hide from a past client. And it stuck with me all these years. I mean, it's probably, 25 years ago that we had this conversation, maybe longer. And I remember going to this workshop maybe like 10 years ago for, it was in some sort of, guy was going to come in and make every loan officer a millionaire kind of thing. And he opens the workshop, and I'll never forget this. I sit in the second row. He opens the workshop, and he's like, is there anybody in this room that likes being compared to a used car dealer? And I raised my hand. And he's like, no, I said that likes to be compared. I'm like, I heard you. And he's like, well, you totally just ruined this for me. He goes, because I was going to say they don't like being compared to you either. I get it, but I'll tell you right now, I have no shame in being in the mortgage business because of that thing right there. I've never done business with a client that if it wasn't the right thing to do by them, I won't do it. And, to me, that's important. I mean, that's just like Capri said. I mean, I've had deals where I've lost money on them. Not even, not where I just made zero. I literally lost money. And it doesn't matter. It was the right thing to do, and it could be anything. I mean, it could be that I set something up and I made a mistake when I set it up, and there was a cost associated with that mistake. If I made it, I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to pass that on to the client. No, I mean, I've had it. I remember not that long ago, I was doing a transaction like 300. I think it's like 379.9 was the purchase price, and the mortgage company hires the appraiser, and the house was like out like past like Chester County somewhere, so it wasn't one of our regular appraisers. The guy brings in at 379 even. It's $900 short on a $379,000 deal. So I contest the appraisal, and they're like, well, what's the, where are the comps that you want to support the value? I'm like, I don't need to support the value. I think he just made a mistake. I think he meant to do 379.9, and he did 379. So they send it back. Sure enough, he was sticking to his guns. He screwed us out of $900 basically. So before I even contacted the buyer or the realtors, I just restructured the deal where we made the sale price to 379.9. We brought the loan amount down, and I just gave the buyers a $900 lender credit. So the sellers still made what they needed to make. The buyers were still out of pocket exactly what they were supposed to be out of pocket, and it saved the transaction for both realtors. And the buyer's agent is like, listen, you don't have to do that. It's already done. And that to me that $900 was well worth the relationship. And it wasn't anybody else's fault. I mean, it wasn't my fault either, but. It wasn't the buyer's fault, it wasn't the seller's fault, and it wasn't the realtor's fault. Nobody made a mistake there. It was just that the appraiser decided he was that good that he could get within $900 on $380,000, and that's it. We probably still could have made it work, but why bother? In that scenario, that relationship's well worth $900.
Do you believe that advice that your father, that remodeling that you grew up, could have had to do with that thought process?
Oh, it absolutely did. Yeah. Yeah, that's at the forefront every day. There's and it's it's not like I go into it with the mentality of like, all right, like how can I screw this person? But it's when things happen in a transaction, and they do happen sometimes. It could be a million different things that pop up. But when something happens, I've always had this kind of mantra, I guess, that the issue isn't the problem. The issue is how the problem's handled.
Wow.
And to me, it needs to be handled in a way that I can look that person in the eye when it's all said and done.
That's powerful.
Whether they agree with it or not is another thing. I mean, sometimes things happen, and no matter what you do, you're not going to make a person happy. But that's a whole other story.